question. So Jackie just asked the really good question. If I wanted, we're going to do this in charcoal today. And one of the things I want you guys, I know, don't panic. That's my first, my first comment to you is don't panic. My second comment to you is we are going to be working in charcoal. So this is a dark and light exercise as much as anything. It's also going to show you how to create, how to simplify, right? Because I mean, if you wanted to, you could draw every brick and every window and every little turret and everything. But what you're going to find is that there's some remarkable, lovely dark and light images here. There's also a nice vanishing point that we can work with, right? So we can get our perspective right. So Jackie, I'd say this is a good one to do in charcoal. And then if you want to, you could go back and do it in pencil.
Okay, that sounds cool.
Only because you'll be able to get sort of this kind of, and so look for example at this wall. It looks a little bit like a toned, if you look at the areas, if you don't like sort of freak out by the bricks and the windows, you'll see that this wall is kind of like a toned free value, right? So you'll get a lot of texture just by toning the paper, if that makes sense. So that's really as much the exercise as anything else is today, is to focus. Anybody new to charcoal? Do all have all?
I am.
Oh, okay, all right. So,
I haven't done in a long time, so I probably watch.
we'll talk. We're gonna. No, you're gonna do it.
Okay.
You're gonna do it. All right. Okay. So let me very quickly run through my charcoal spiel. All the rest of you can get ready and tone your charcoal, your newsprint if you're ready. Charcoal is made out of wood, burnt wood. So this is from a set called Bob's Fine Vine Charcoal. It comes from redwood forests. It's probably, I think his people go out and collect, literally collect like burnt wood from forest fires, of which we have plenty around here. It's very light. When you hold it up, it's got a kind of irregular shape. And if you don't have this stuff, you might have something called vine charcoal or vine or willow charcoal. Vine is grapevine that's been burned. Willow is willow vine that's been burned. I have a student who lives on a farm outside Oregon. And when we would do charcoal, she would literally go out to her charcoal pile and grab like some burnt wood from the charcoal pile. It worked. Let me tell you what doesn't work. Charcoal briquettes don't work. But like, you know, your basic essential wood, it did work. You'll notice if you're gonna take, so you can do a couple of different kinds of marks on this. Toning, which we're gonna discuss, is taking the side and kind of running it across. And then you can also use the corners to make harder marks. And what's really nice about charcoal is that you, with your hand, kind of erase it out. So unlike the pencil, which is really hard to get rid of, we can get rid of our drawing lines that aren't accurate. And we're actually going to do something today called subtractive drawing. So we're not actually going to start drawing with our charcoal. Well, we're going to tone our paper, but then we're going to draw with our eraser, our kneaded eraser. Just so that you know how this started out. Yes, this is the same as this. This is how it looks after 1 or 2 sessions. Actually, this is really how it looks after about 5 minutes. And if you want to get more coverage, you can clean, you can kind of stretch it like silly putty. No, that's probably dating me. I know what silly putty is and those of you who don't. So, you know, I can find clean, I can put it into shapes, and I can kind of erase this out. So the first step to subtractive drawing, and I love charcoal, I should just say, I love charcoal because it forces people who are very used to working with the lines, the sharp lines of pencil, to think about drawing in a different way. And that's why I want all my students to use it. Well, I want all my students to use everything, because the more you know, the more free you are to try different things. Oh, and then the other thing that we're working with is newsprint. So ideally, this is kind of tough to get outside the US, but newsprint is fantastic if you can get it. It's literally the paper that's printed on newspaper. So it's kind of a rough, that newspapers are printed on. So it's kind of a rough, thick paper, and it takes charcoal really, really well. Charcoal really doesn't work best on, you know, printer paper or flat paper or thin paper or, you know, fine paper. It does lines. And then the last thing you need to know is that the first thing we're going to do is tone our paper. It allows me to talk about value. So if you remember, value is the lightness or darkness of any color. So if this is a 1 and this is a 5, 2, 3, and 4 are what we call midtones, which means they're just literally in the middle, right? They're tones that gradually get darker. No 50 Shades of Grey jokes here. We've heard them all. So, you know, like this is 1 and this is a 2. You can see that 3 is kind of what we've toned the paper. So toning the paper is creating a midtone. We're at about a 3 in the value right now. My paint table, although it's fairly new, already has a lot of paint marks. So I have at least 3 pieces of paper stacked underneath, and I'm still getting, you can see this, lines from the paint that's sticking up. If I was you, we're going to start with this. And now let's review our subject. Does anybody have questions about that, by the way? I hope you guys don't get sick of me like saying it, or I feel like I say it over and over again, but it's probably helpful to do it. All right, you're coming over.
How often do you change your kind of rubber thing? Because they seem to get really filthy. Do they sort of
stretch it a lot? I stretch it a lot. I use them a long time. I just stretch them out like this. I just stretch them out. See, I can still find. Yeah, they get filthy. So do you, you know, so do we all if we use it long enough. Some of you are going to get on everything. Not, you know, you're not filthy, but you know, we all get filthy using charcoal in a very good way. All right. So one of the things, I'm just looking for the best pencil and to do this on so you guys can see this clearly. Try. All right. So one of the things to remember about this Venice scene, isn't it awesome? Isn't it like sort of spark memories of yes, travel and all of that? So one of the neat things about this scene is that we can practice our single vanishing point perspective. And that basically as things go away from us, they on the paper they appear to rise and get thinner, right? I know how easy that is to see. You might need to redo this. Our horizon line at that level very often, so you can see this. All kinds of, let's try white. Feel better? Might have to be right there. That's a little bit easy. Not even. Great. So the thing about the vanishing point is that we can a couple of ways. When we're working with a photo, we can actually take our, you know, our road, or in this case, our river or a canal, and we can see where this meets. And where it meets is the vanishing point, which is about your eye level, right there. And then every single line, which means that I can draw a line straight across. That looks like this, right? From that, this is my horizon line. So very often when we're looking for the horizon line, if we're looking like outside, it's generally going to be where the sky meets the land, right? In this case, which is a fairly close in shot, the eye level is really where these two meet. These two angles meet right here. And then everything else that every line that's below the eye level, if I'm trying to do this line of windows, it all goes to that vanishing point. It's funny, you'll notice that in this picture, it's slightly off. That's going to correct for it. So you can see here, when I send you a close-up of the picture, that we're correcting for this because the picture skews things a little bit. So you're actually going to be correcting this as we do it. So everything below, every line of windows or what have you, is going to go straight to the vanishing point. It's going to be curved up. And everything above is going to slant down towards the vanishing point, right? Towards that single vanishing point. Yep, you can see things are starting to skew a little bit. So we're going to fix that. As we start to sketch, we're going to be focusing on sketching those. Does that make sense? Does anybody have questions about that? So all of these lines that are above the horizon line, they slant, they start at a different angle. That's the bad news. But the good news is they angle to the same point, right?
Leah, how did you know how to see that point?
The vanishing point,
Yeah.
it's where these two meet. It's where the road, or in this case, the thing that starts in the foreground and moves to the background, where those two meet. Right? Because they're angled at different angles, so they're always going to meet. And notice that, like I said, and I'll re-sketch these out in color so it's easier to see it, but that's generally what's happening all the way across. So in this particular case, we have like kind of three areas we're interested in. Three areas really here. There's like these buildings that are kind of on the side, right? There's the river itself and the boat. You don't have to do the boat if you don't want to, but if you want to, you can. And then there's this back area, which is kind of like, can you see there's like buildings turning, right? Because the canal kind of turns. So there's these two things on the side. Also, like the waterway, they're going away from us, so they're rising up and they're meeting in the middle. There's this back section, which has a slightly different shape. And then there's this thing, right? Which we're looking at straight on. So it does not go to a vanishing point. It's just a straight across. We're just going to draw these lines horizontally as we see them. Let me sketch this in just briefly. There's a lot of things we can't see here, so I'm going to have another copy of this as always.
So is the vanishing point slightly to the left of the center of the page?
It is. Good observation. Yep, it is. Good student. Very good student. Excellent observation. Yeah, so don't assume everything is going to match up with the center of the page. That's a really good thing. Let me take a picture of this so you guys can see it. The sort of beginning lines we're going to work with, just the very beginning. So this is kind of more about what do I start with, right? You know what I mean? Like more than anything else, this is what I start with. Don't worry, we'll have another copy of this coming. Where's my Saturday class? Here we go. All right, so here are our first, it's seen in orange, kind of our first lines. And let's see, the horizon line is almost exactly in the mid. I will say, although it's slightly to the left of the center, it actually comes just at about the center. And that's not true. It's a little bit below the actual halfway point of the paper. So I'm going to move this over here. And let's start figuring out how to draw some lines that work. So I'm going to start by drawing with my eraser. And I think the first thing I'm going to do is add in this horizon line. And I'm going to do that. Let's see. I'm going to use a ruler, not to measure, but just to keep my line straight. Right. And I can see that this is just a little bit below the halfway point. Does everybody get how I'm assessing that? I'm measuring this distance below the horizon to here. And then I'm bringing that measurement up, and I can see there's just a little bit of space. So I'm going to try and do something kind of similar here. Let's see. Test it. So I'm going to come here and see, oh yeah, when I come up here, is there just a little bit of space? I'm going to bring it up just a little bit. Don't want it to exactly be halfway. Yeah, somewhere in here. And then I'm just going to take my straight edge with my eraser. You can turn your eraser into a little point. I'm going to do this. Like that. So that's my eye level horizon. That's the first thing I'm going to do. Can everybody handle that? This is hard. So that's, I'm sorry. I'm not like trying to talk. I'm like not trying to be condescending at all. I'm like, oh my God, when I looked at it this morning, I was like, do I need to change this out? And then I figured, no, we're going to learn some things about this. This is a good one to do for charcoal. And then to figure out where these lines go, I'm going to start with where they start in our foreground. And when foreground, I mean, you know, because this is a flat surface, this, as we move down the paper, we get closer to us, right? It seems obvious when you think about it, but it's confusing because we like to think of backgrounds as going this way, right? And the foreground is coming this way. But on a flat surface, we can only go up or down. So here is the farthest distance. As we move down, it gets closer. And as we move to the bottom of the paper, here's the foreground, right? It's the thing that's the closest to us. So on this side, I can see that my line starts here. I'm going to kind of mark it. And on this side, I can see that my line actually starts up here. So don't make the mistake of trying to get your lines to start here, matchy-matchy. Whoops. Don't make the mistake of trying to get your lines starting here and here. The line on this side starts up. And then I can take my ruler and see where does it intersect. Because I've already got my horizon line, I can kind of see where it intersects. See, like that. And with that, we have our canal. And by the way, keep asking these questions. These are very, very intelligent questions, you guys. I love it. These are excellent questions. So I feel like drawing has so many things that you have to kind of relearn how to assess information. There's so many new rules to visual spatial logic that like we can just keep on learning this, right? It goes in layers. So don't feel silly about asking the question. And kind of beyond that, I can get in my sort of light water. and then my dark water.
So, excuse me, Leah, I need you to review some because I just made the picture you sent larger.
Mhm.
And I don't understand how when you drew the lines across the, the intersecting bottoms of the buildings, they kind of intersected under the bridge more towards the middle, but then you shifted the vanishing point to the left
I
and
did
up.
not shift, I did not shift the, well, this is just I didn't quite get this to the vanishing point. I didn't.
Oh,
I didn't. I just was like, I just can't, it's hard to see. So don't get too caught up in where, yes, you want to make everything come to this vanishing point, and it is a little bit to the left of
it's
center.
to the left. Okay.
And you can tell that because it starts here, see where these two meet. Right? It is a little bit left of center. So,
Okay.
yeah, don't get too literal about these lines. I'm going to redraw them in something that's easier to see. But one of the things I want you to understand is that, and you'll also notice that my lines don't quite match up with the windows. You know why? Because fucking pictures lie to you. Photographs do not few things. So I'm teaching you how to fix that. So we are fixing this photograph so that these actually work correctly, but you're going to start to see how in some places, anyway, everything should be coming to this point. If it's not really obvious, I'm going to put a little point here. That's your vanishing point. Everything should come to that orange circle. And let's see here. And there's some other things. There's some other things that are kind of interesting that we can use to assess. I mean, this isn't, we want to get the top of the buildings, right? So I'm going to check here. So this building, that's really amazing to me. Look at this. I mean, look at how the top of this building is almost straight up and down. It just doesn't feel right, right? But that's exactly what's happening. To get to the vanishing point, it has to, this one here, and I'm kind of working around. There you go. So this building corrects to look a little bit more like this. That angle looks like that. So those are the angles we're going to draw. So now I'm going to come to the top here. And yeah, it's just slightly, there's just a slight angle up here as I get the top of that building. And then this starts about here. So now I've got this top and bottom, this and this top and bottom have been defined. So the building's on this side, the building's on this side. Now all I have left is to sketch in this shape. What I can see is that a bit to the left of the vanishing point, and remember, all my verticals are straight up and down, right? All my vertical lines, only my horizontal lines that have angles. This is here. And on this side, draw that down, comes to about here. And now I've sketched in the Gesundheit.
Thank you.
And now I've sketched in kind of my basic, this basic arch. So I've really, and then my last thing here is to come in here and sketch in a tiny bit of building back here and maybe a little bit of bridge. We probably won't be able to get in the bridge in this size and format that we're working. I want to bring this up a little bit. But really, that's all. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then 5. Those pieces of this, the sort of outer shapes of this project are here. Is anybody learning anything with this? Is this helpful to you? I should say.
Yes.
It's really helpful, right? Because it's like, so even though this is tough, I'm like, we don't have to get into, and look what's already happening. Already I'm getting a feeling of depth. Just by like, see how this already looks like a little bit of an old building? An old wall. Just with its texture. Mhm. So go ahead and get to that place and send it over to me, just so I can see we're on the right foot. Hi, Rashmi. Good job, sweetie. Yeah, that's it. I think this is a little bit wide in the middle, Rash. You might want to squeeze it, just sort of cut it in a little bit
Okay.
each side, but excellent idea. In general, I know, of course, you're working with a different proportion, but look at how much space kind of is in. I have a little bit more. I probably need to bring mine in a little bit.
On the right side?
On both sides.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Olga looks pretty good. This feels too small to me.
Okay.
Look at how little sky space there is here. Look at
Yeah.
how
Sure.
space is 3, 4, right?
Okay. Thank you, Leah. I will correct it.
Bring it up a little bit so
Yeah.
that a little bit more space for your city in there. I probably have to do the same thing. Good job, you guys. Okay, Catherine, let's see. So Catherine, I need to see your whole paper, Catherine. I can't see it.
Oh, sorry.
Because I can't see where these start. I have a feeling you started this too low, but I can't tell.
Yeah, probably.
Also, you could go a little darker with your toning.
Yes, I was thinking that.
Okay.
I had it too dark, so I wiped it and it got too light.
Okay, so why don't you darken it? And then you need to see, so what you've missed is the connection between these arches. The arch on this side connects with the angle of the building.
Ah,
It's floating free. So here's the big problem. You did this.
yes.
It starts here. So I want you to darken and start your sketch over.
Okay.
Again, and sketch everything in the right places. So the thing that's really off is this line. You started it here, it should be starting here. It's
So
amazing.
it does,
Huh?
question, does it connect with the bottom diagonal or does it go off a bit?
I don't understand what you're asking.
The left-hand lower diagonal goes to the vanishing
They
point,
all will connect with the diagonal. These
but is
sides
it the
are-
same angle? Never
Is-
mind.
This is, I mean, yes, these connect to the same vanishing point. They all go to the same vanishing point. So
Okay,
they all connect. And that means that we're correcting for what the photo fucks up.
Yeah.
Remember, the photo is not the human eye. The photo is flat. Let's see, Julia, that looks, so bring your line down, Julia, here on this side. I feel like you need to bring that, you may need to bring this out a little bit, but we'll see as it goes. There's like a, you know, Julia, that generally looks pretty good. That generally looks pretty good. Okay, Mira. Yeah, that generally looks pretty good. Good job. Although Mira, I think you're, oh, okay, here's a problem.
Okay.
So you have your horizon line too far up the page. It should
Okay.
go a little bit below the halfway across. mark.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'll correct it. Yeah.
Double
Thanks.
check and see that I have done that. This is about right. So that's going to be really problematic later on. You won't be able to
Okay.
fix things. up here.
Okay.
Good job, you guys. Jackie. Looks, yep, looks pretty good. Good job. Good job, everybody. I know this can be a kind of a mind bender. And the thing that's the toughest about it is that, like, it's hard. It's easy to get lost, right? So this is why I'm taking a look at these beginning sketches. It's easy to create a pattern where none exists. And when I say pattern, I mean like, we want all these things to be equidistant, right? But they aren't. It just depends on the view. And what's really good about this way of working is that we will have, this will help you in being able to draw from life, right? Because you'll be able to start measuring more. Because of course, that's the next step, the scary next step. And kind of once you've gotten these lines in, I'm debating how many details I want to get. Let's get these 2 rows of windows in as well. And that's it for the moment. Let's see. Tina. Hey, Bettina, I need to see your whole drawing.
I can't figure out how to do the bottom, that arch.
Okay, I
keep
need
messing it
to
up.
see your whole drawing. I can't see your whole drawing.
You can't?
No, you can't. You need to step back so I can see the edges of the paper.
Okay.
Looks pretty good, Osiris. Okay, much better, Catherine. There you go.
Well, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
It's funny, isn't it? Looks pretty good, Osiris. Good, good. Good job, everybody. I need to be able to see your whole paper so I can see where your edges are, right? If I can't see your whole paper, and try and stand right over it. If I'm looking at something skewed, right? If you're taking a picture from the side, like sitting and taking a picture of your drawing, I can't see it flat. So I need to be able to see it flat. Yeah, let's do that. So the next thing I'm going to have you do. Yeah, thank you. Bettina, you're too far out here. You should be back. You're about here. Your point for this line is here. You really want to bring it back here.
I don't understand why in the least.
Because if you look at like well, I'll show you. So here, let's just do some basic measurements. All right. So, oops. Okay, so here, let's just look at where the halfway point is. Okay, on this paper, or wherever your halfway point is. So here is the exact half between here and here. This is more like halfway to the halfway point. If you find your halfway point, you'll see it's over here. It's way too close to the halfway point. Get it? Halfway across the paper is here, 1/2 right here. And this is literally half that distance.
Okay.
That's the problem. That's the problem. You put this in the wrong place. You put it here, therefore everything else is kind of skewed in a way that doesn't. And this will show you where to put that. Anybody else before we get any further? Good, let's see.
Leah,
Yeah.
they just did a whole, I just watched over the weekend because my dog is sick and we can't go anywhere. But anyway, and they just did a whole thing in the World Science Festival, which is a lecture that comes on YouTube, where they get all the world scientists together, and I just watched this yesterday about how everyone's perception of what they see and what we hear is incorrect. So they did a series of tests to show people that how everyone sees everything differently. but that depending on our inner perception is how the viewpoint of our world appears to us, which I found fascinating. But it was like a 3-hour lecture and they had different people use different exercises. So one of the things they talked about was that dress that was online. Remember everybody, that dress was online. Everybody thought it was one color and it was another color and all of that.
Yep.
For the dress that went around, that's what they used as an example, and they did a whole series.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think it's just a matter, I don't think that we should try to get what you're doing as much as we should try to make it work for us in the theme of what you're doing. Does that
Sure.
make sense?
Yes, but also let's not split hairs here. We all know that we see things differently. The only thing I'm trying to show you is how to evaluate where things visually are in space from each other. And in that way, we tend to see things more similarly. So that's all I'm talking about right now. But I'm not trying to tell you that we don't see things differently. Of course we do. But when it comes to evaluating space, this is unless this is this is something that can be divided into math, half. So if you're having, like, I just don't want to get too, of course, but, and you'll notice everybody does this differently, but let's talk about the actual task of what we're doing, right? We're not, it's not like Bettina actually sees this line going down like this. She's just struggling to figure out where to put it on the paper. But yes, indeed, we all see things completely differently. I mean, that's absolutely true. And that I feel like just comes out naturally in how we lay our marks down. And remember, this is realistic drawing. I'm showing you how to do realistic drawing. It's a very specific skill. Architects need it. Like, lots of people need that, need to be able to, like, set something down with kind of a universal set of principles so that we can, kind of build buildings that don't look like this. That kind of thing. So that's really what that's what we're doing. And it's not easy. It's kind of hard. That's one of the things that's really struggling about it. Let's see. I think we're going to do just one. What I'd like to do is have you guys add in 1 or 2 sets of windows. Let me show you where those are. So or even we might just practice 1 set of windows. Oh, sorry. Try and mark on this one. But you guys can really see what's going on here. Right? And we'll practice maybe doing. So I'm not going to have you put all the windows in, although if you want to, you're totally welcome to. But I'm going to show you how to put a couple in. And then we're going to start erasing our lights and our darks. So here, so once again, here, 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 and here is where our lines are going to start to do our windows. This is a little bit below that horizon line, which we added in. And although I'm not measuring it, I can kind of evaluate generally where that is. This isn't down here, right? It's up here. It's close to the edge of the horizon. So I can do this. And once again, like I said, this is you're gonna get this when you get this. So don't worry if you're struggling with it. Don't worry if you're like, actually, if you're struggling with it, it's kind of good. It means we're really kind of up against what you know versus what you don't know and how to think like this. So don't worry about it. I mean, you know, this is almost engineer things. So here's my horizon line. And down here is where my window starts. And then a little bit lower is where my window ends. Like this. Over here, my horizon, my window starts closer to my horizon line. I can see it. Getting it dark enough so you guys can see. My window starts here and ends a little bit down here. And then it's simply a matter of lining up with the vanishing point and drawing. Right, now I know my windows fit in these spaces. Going to the vanishing point, I'm going to that same point that's just the left of center, where everything else is going to. The only thing that's really changing is my starting point. Then maybe, let's just start with this, and then we'll go from there. And then we're going to start adding in some darks and lights. So let me take a picture, both of this. Is anybody's brain hurting yet? Good.
Almost.
Great. My job is done here. So there's the sample, and then you'll see these 4 black dots kind of on the edges of the paper to show where these window lines start and stop. Okay, then we're going to start doing some, then it's going to start getting fun. I promise. I promise you it's going to start getting fun. I think already I'm like, let's skip the boat. Unless you want to add the boat in, I just don't think the boat is like really worth it. Later you can add the boat in, but let's just focus on the waterways and the river. For those who have got this, I'm going to take my eraser and go around and start pulling out some of the light areas with my eraser. So that's this little riverway in the middle. It's this tiny bit of sky here underneath the arch. It's that sky above. That might be it for like super light areas. So look at what happens just when I erase these 3 areas, the lightest areas. You can add in your windows, you can erase your light areas. Let's see. Yeah, Catherine. No, Catherine, so this one, so you've made these equal, they are not equal. They don't start at the same place.
Okay.
Although the theory, you've got it. The theory is here. This one starts down a little bit higher. This one starts closer to the vanishing point, the center line. Can you see it? So notice how easy it is to make little matchy-matchy patterns when they aren't happening. Matchy-matchy is the word my mother uses to describe like how you keep dishes in your kitchen. Have you heard that? Like, right? So there's people who are like, I want my set of dishes to all be exactly the same color and exactly the same size, and all my silverware to be exactly the same this or that. And my mother has always been very disdainful of there's nothing wrong with matchy-matchy, by the way. Nothing wrong with that. But her word is matchy-matchy, which I think is hilarious because to me, it's just such a funny word, but like when I think of it, like we run an Airbnb out of our house. So we have a kitchen, which is not what my mother would call matchy-matchy. There are plates that are all different sizes and colors and makes, and there's all kinds of different, we've got a lot of everything, but it doesn't match. But what I like about it in this context is we want to get matchy-matchy. We want this side to line up with this side, but that's not necessarily happening. So, right, but notice how easy it is to get matchy-matchy. I'm going to mute you, my Rajmi. Yep, there we go. Not because I don't want to hear you, because I just want to make sure we get this concept of matchy-matchy down. So we're trying to avoid matchy-matchy, right? We're trying to avoid like trying to make this row of windows line up at the same place that this row of windows does, because that's not exactly what's happening. The fact that the vanishing point, as Jackie observed at the beginning of class, is a little bit to the left of center is part of that. The fact that this building kind of starts up the page and this starts at the bottom is another indication that this is not going to, these angles aren't going to necessarily be exactly the same. They're not going to start and end in the same place. And so when you've got, anyway, just watch your capacity to do it. We do it without thinking about it. It's what gets, it's what stops, it's what foils us in drawing all the time, is that we want things to be evenly matched when they are not, as we see it. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. So Bettina, I would say this if you drew a line straight across from this point to this point, yours would probably match the distance. Look here, the distance, here's the eye level horizon line. I'm going to redraw it in orange so you can really see it. I'm going to redraw it in orange. Hang on. So you can see the horizon line. This way. Right, here's the horizon line. And here's where this window starts. And here is where this window starts. You see there's a difference in space from the horizon line where those windows start. So if I put my ruler straight across, I'm not going to find the start line for the window on this side directly across as from here. It's going to be a little bit higher up. I mean, you'll still get something that looks reasonable, but it's not the angle. Let's see. Oh, nice, Jackie. Yeah. Great. Wonderful. Good, Catherine. Looks great. So they can still, you can make this slightly wider, right?
Okay.
You can make that slightly, you can bring that slightly up a little bit. So you want this, bring this line slightly up. You've
All
got
right.
a little bit narrow here. But otherwise, that looks great. Perfect. Nice, Jackie. I love it. Jackie, your sense of values is wonderful. Ross, looking pretty good. Looking good. Sorry, looking very good, actually. And now, once you have your lights in place, you can start adding in some darks. So let's start with something simple, the dark of the waterway. Right, this is a pretty straightforward. I'm not doing the buildings yet. I'm just adding the dark of my waterway. Now I'm using my charcoal like a pencil, right? I'm using the tip of it. Look what happens just by doing that. Look at how all of a sudden I start to have depth. I'm doing this and this. That's all I'm doing. I might also do this because it's kind of dark at the bottom. Although I might have to move that, so maybe I won't do too much of that. Right, there's my waterway. Okay, and then my windows, in fact, mine might be a touch too wide. So I might bring mine in a little bit. So you notice I'm not necessarily getting, does it make you feel better to see I'm not getting these exactly right in the first go? Either. I'm not telling you anything I don't have to practice myself. So once I start getting in here, my windows, as you'll see, Jackie has already done this. They're just vertical, you know, dark spaces, straight up and down. Right, mostly. And on this side as well. And this one's fairly thick. And this one, these are just vertical. These lines are straight up and down. So the only angles that really slant are our top and our bottom, the things that are horizontal lines. Our verticals, and notice that your windows get smaller and a little bit closer together as we get further up this line. Dang, look at that. I'm still not convinced I have this in the right place yet. We'll figure that out in a minute.
Still looking nice.
Thank you. Hi, Diana. Oh, by the way, if anybody is interested who hasn't already done this, please send me a picture of where you're working. Like see a picture of what your workstation looks like. I'm trying
Oh dear.
to put together an email. I'm trying to put together an email to show people like how you can kind of set up your space any which way. It doesn't have to be, you don't need a total, you know, I mean, it's great if you have a, it's great if you have a, it's great if you have a, what do you call it? A studio, but if you don't, most of us are working in dining rooms, living rooms, kitchen tables, dining tables. So just take a picture of what that looks like, and I will share, if you don't mind, I will share it to other students so that they can see what is possible.
I have a space, but I'm occupying the kitchen totally.
That's okay. Lots of people do their kitchen.
Yeah, I'm planning to move back to my real space.
Eventually. And notice now, I can also, I can add more windows if I want to. I can add kind of these little dark shapes up here, right, to indicate corners of roofs. Thank you, Catherine. Love it. I love it that people's initial response is like, oh shit, it's a mess. Notice now I'm kind of sketching in some of the harder lines, you know, the edges where things are meeting. And if I want to, I can get kind of in a little bit of that really cute stuff going. I don't have to, but I can. Notice how I already am starting to have a feeling of just by adding these lines. I guess what I really want you to learn from this lesson today is not necessarily to finish this drawing, but to understand how we structure drawings and how we simplify, right? A very complex idea. Look at how with so little information, I'm already able to convey a feeling of depth. I mean, that's pretty amazing when you think about it. Now I'm adding in the skyline for that last section underneath. It's like a little wedge shape, almost like kind of a funny little pie shape, right? That's like the sky. I'll go back in. It's also easy to kind of lose your light. Things get smudgy, so you have to re-add it. Right? Look at what just doing that. Does for my drawing. I can do another line here, which kind of separates, which just goes, all these vertical lines just go straight up and down, right? Which separates this kind of back light area from this darker.
Where do you want us to send the makeshift studio pictures?
Just send it across this thread. It's great. Thank you, Diana. Isn't that interesting? Look at how much depth I'm getting with very little detail. Can you see it? Can you guys see it? Or like, is it still feeling far away from you? I feel it. I can already feel that I've kind of outlined and started, just got the major darks and lights in on my, and shapes and the lines in on my building and my structures. And look at how cool and old these buildings already look with this texture. Thank you. Thanks, Mira. Coming along. I like it. This is awesome. Oh, Charlie. Sonny. Oh, sorry, Sonny. Oh my gosh. Charlie's still in my mind. Thank you guys. These are wonderful. Wonderful. I love it. I just want to show people it doesn't have to be complicated, right? Like, it's not about, people get very caught up in, do I have the right materials? Do I have this? Do I have that? Do I have a place to work? Do I have it? And that's not really half as important as just setting down and finding a place to work. I spent 5 years living in Eastern Europe. I spent 2 years living in Budapest and 2 years living in Yerevan, Armenia, and a year living in Zagreb, Croatia. And one of the things that I met a lot of artists and I studied with a lot of artists. And one of the things those artists showed me is that you can work anywhere. You can work in a corner. There was one amazing illustrator. There is still one amazing illustrator who worked in a little tiny corner of his bedroom and did the most magical drawings and illustrations and watercolors you've ever seen. Just tiny little desk in a corner, right? Now, if you want to work bigger, of course, you need more. And if you want to be professional, you're going to need more space eventually. But like, I want people to see this. You have to have the will first, right? It's the will to do this and to give yourself and to carve out your space more than anything else. Let's see. So thank you. Showing your studio spaces really works. Thank you, Osiris. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Bettina. This is awesome. This is so great. Oh my God, I love them. Ah, fantastic. Thank you, guys. I really love it. All right. And now back to the exercise. Let's get to this place. And if you want to, you can start adding in other window lines as well. So for example, here, let's see, we'll mark them. There's this window line, which starts up here and ends here. This is probably a pretty important one. So I as well am gonna I think, and Bettina, I want to really respond to how you decide where things are, because it's a very valid question. For me, it's gotten very easy to assess where things are on the paper from each other. What I'm teaching you is how to do that. So as you start out at the beginning, it's not so easy, I guess is my point, right? Like is like the valuation. What you really notice is it's easy to make whatever we're drawing too big, move it over too far, try to center it, try to make everything look exactly the same. Those are the things that happen when we struggle to like see. So if you're feeling this like, where is it? That's because it's easy to make things too big. And you'll notice that when I draw, I do it too. So it's not like it does, I have to move things all the time. So you get, so what's fairly easy for me, right, which will get easier for you, is this evaluation of kind of, I'm visually looking to see where things are, and that's where I'm going. So just so that we're clear on that, that's a practice, and you don't have to be good at it right away. That's why I'm here, to help you see where things are. And there's also, I mean, there's rules, but mostly it's like we're learning the language of the flat surface, right? We're learning how does a three-dimensional image translate on the flat surface. I can't draw that way or this way. I can only draw this way or this way, right? So things look different when I have to translate them to a flat surface, and they don't look the way we think they look. It's like they just don't. I am gonna, so there, and vanishing point. So the vanishing point is really one of those things that helps us start to make sense of what we're seeing. It's definitely the point at which people who have trained themselves stop being able to get it exactly right. And let's see here. I'm going to add in one or two more window lines. I'm going to let you choose how many more window lines you want to do. You see how I'm starting to sketch in my window lines. Notice as things move up the page, they get kind of shorter and smaller. As they move down the page, they get a little bit larger. As they move away from us, they get shorter and the distances get shorter. So now I've like kind of sketched in a few more window shapes. Let's see what happens here. You can also see that, do these line up? They kind of do vertically. So you could draw, like I could decide to draw straight lines to line up my windows with each other vertically. Oh, oops. That's here. Oh, that's not where my window is. Here. Totally put my window in the place where my wall was supposed to be. If I want to, I can add in this. This kind of line, which is the underneath of the brick. If I want to, I could do a couple of sort of brick lines, but not too many. But notice how much texture I've already got just by toning the paper very accidentally. I have a nice texture. That's kind
Looks
of,
great, Leah.
right?
Yes, it does.
Really hot. Hi, Sandra.
Hey, Sandra, we missed you.
Oh, sorry, I so needed to sleep.
I get you. We're glad you're doing that. By the way, if you become a regular in this class, it will be observed if you're not there, and you'll hear yourself talking about in the videos. We'll be like, where's Bettina? Where's Catherine? Where's Jackie? Where are they? They're not really here. So I consider that another just sort of a incentive to show up, right? Because there's it's I take a Zoom fitness class online, and it's live. And I used to do it in a gym, and then my teacher just immediately took everything online when the pandemic happened. And we meet at 6 in the morning. So, right, like 3 or 4 mornings a week, we meet at 6 in the morning, and there's only like 5 of us. So if somebody does not show up, it is absolutely observed. And half the time I'm like, even if I don't feel like doing this, I just don't dare. I love the
How many days a week do you do that?
4 days a week.
Wow.
I try to add in a yoga class too. Yeah, it's brutal. Because I feel like I spend a lot of time, I myself, I don't know about you guys, I myself spend a lot of time sitting in my studio or standing in my studio in one place and just working. And so it's a way to get me moving. And it's hard, but it's worth it. It's free, by the way. So if anybody wants to join in, if you're East Coast, it would be 9 o'clock in the morning, 9:15 really. And if you're in Europe, it's like, I don't know, let's see, 6, I'd have to do the math, but if anybody's interested, I'll send you the link, but it will be noticed if you stop showing up. I'm just saying. She's really good, and it's brutal.
I would love to, but I think with a puppy, it's going to be impossible.
Right, you're getting your exercise from your working with the puppy.
I'm not so sure, but I get some exercise.
If anybody's interested, let me know. It's a lot
The
of
idea
fun.
appeals, but it's still a bit early for me.
Yeah, Sandra, you just take naps when you need to take naps. That's what we want you to do. That's what you need to do, young lady. So you can see also that there's kind of some divisions in the buildings, right? So this part of the building between the windows is a little, actually, there's a kind of neat white line happening here. So you might around the edges of the building. And actually, when you get further into it, you'll see, like here, I'll show you, that actually the window has a kind of neat light dark pattern, which one could emulate. Nice, Catherine. So yeah, just make sure, Catherine, that these lines are straight up and down. So these
Yes.
angle, this needs to be literally virtually straight up and down.
I
Literally.
tend to drift.
Everybody does. You tend to drift thinking that that's like you should be drifting this direction. So these lines really need to be straight verticals. But I
Yeah.
find it helpful because then I just know that, right? Once you learn that, it becomes easier. This is looking great, by the way. You guys are doing good. Here, let me show you. So if you look at these windows closely, these are the windows on the left side. You'll see that like there's a little part where the light comes in. It's kind of like here, right? There's this little triangle of light. So if you want to get more detailed, you can add in that little triangle of light there. Don't have to, but you could. And there's a little bit of one half, there's not really a triangle, but it's kind of a, I don't know, here it's triangle light. Anyway, that's like kind of, if you want to get more detailed and sort of three-dimensional with your windows, you could do that. Here, I'll send pictures. Let's see what that looks like. But you don't have to. I don't even care if we get any further than like just the basic, you know, I don't really care how much detail you get in here. I think everybody is getting the concept without getting too. I now want you to finish this drawing to your heart's content and not to the specific. Now I'm going to move away from specifics and have you start to add in what you want and add in what you don't want, you know, and sort of delete what you don't want. So you have options, you have choices. As Osiris says, you have ways of, you know what's important to you. So that's what you get to emphasize. There we go. How's everybody doing today, by the way? Just generally.
Good.
Good?
Yeah, I think good.
Yeah, good.
I've been retired for a year and 3 months.
Yeah.
I just started a new job last week
Oh, you are because you had to or because you missed it?
because I missed it.
She's a nurse.
Definitely.
Can you believe it? Like, Catherine's a nurse.
And I'm 70.
Yeah. Or
I really missed it.
you miss it, but you know, I can imagine you would miss it. I totally can imagine that you would miss it because that's really like physically. Are you on a phone call line now, or are you doing physical nursing?
Physical nursing.
Oh, I thought you were going to do the last time I talked to you, it was a phone call.
I looked into that, but then actually, the hospital I work for just started a new detox program, medical detox. So the people who are just coming down off their addictions. So it's going to be intense nursing.
Oh my God, how interesting.
And I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much for doing that.
Right?
Thank you.
Osiris, exactly why, exactly my thought. You got it at the same time. Thank you for doing that. So
A job, but it's not just a job, it's a vocation.
Yes, it
that's
is.
so beautiful. Yeah, you're the most.
To have a special kind of heart to do things like that. The patience, the compassion level you have to have, when people are dying or they don't feel well and they act stupid and they curse you out and all kind of stuff.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me.
Stupid.
You have to have a certain kind of heart. Thank you so much. My heart goes out to you.
Oh, thank you.
Osiris, that is exactly the right. You're absolutely right. That's how I feel about nurses and teachers. Jesus. It's like,
They need to pay them more money.
yeah.
Maybe the parents got to see what the teachers do since they had to stay at home with their own kids for a change,
Yeah.
I have to say that nursing pays pretty well. Teachers, it's horrible.
Yeah, right. And there's a union, which is kind of amazing. Like, imagine if there wasn't.
Right.
By the way, one of the things I noticed, you guys, is you can start to see little blocks of, as you get further back, you'll see. I'm gonna put up the new. Does everybody have this? You all have a picture of this. I thought I would put up the new picture without all the drawings all over it so that you can see a little bit better. I'm going to put this up so we can see some of the details. So I'm going to show you some new lines.
What did you say was horrible? I just missed it.
Teacher salaries.
Oh, right.
Right?
It's disgraceful.
Which is amazing, actually, because they're so needed. I mean, they're so crucial to the whole country.
But it explains a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They are. So I'm showing you guys a few areas that if you wanted to kind of like add in, and I'm basically dividing them by light and dark shades. So actually, before I get into too much detail, let me get a picture of this so that you can see it. I'm showing you this back area. But you don't have to put it in there. Oh yeah, nice, Bettina. Wonderful. So Bettina, the only thing you want to keep in mind is be careful that your lines aren't, your vertical lines aren't drifting this way or this way. Make sure they're going straight down. But see how that's starting to read? And when I say read, I mean, it reads like 3 dimensions, right? Like it's reading. That's a very common term that we'll use in art. Painters use it a lot. Is it locking in? Let's
I
see.
don't know why I decided to do what I'm doing.
What are you doing?
Oh, Stairways to Heaven, no.
Huh? So I'm
It's,
showing you some details of places where you can just do kind of a light. You'll see if you look at this, that this shape is kind of darker. This is a medium and this is a light shape. And then there's a little dark shape. You can add in your, if you can see it, you can add in the bridge. You don't have to. On here, it's obvious that the light is kind of hitting this way, kind of down and a little bit this way, because it's lighter on this side than it is on this side. So that's areas that you can work. I want you to get as, you know, I want you to add as much detail as you want to make this a finished drawing. I don't want you to make yourself crazy. No crazy making. I want you to push your brain. Ooh, very nice, Olga. Good. Wonderful. So look at how Olga kind of handled all these. This is great. Olga, this line, although this line is not exactly here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
that line. It's almost straight. Now that's, fix these two is the ones you're going to do. But other than that, that looks really great. So look at how what Olga chose to focus on and what she chose not to focus on, right? Very nice.
Leah,
Yeah.
I have a Faber-Castell set. I had it a while back just because I tend to do things experimental. And it has that rubber sticky eraser thing in it. How are you using it? Because it sticks everywhere and what do you do?
So does it have, you mean this thing?
It was in the container and it was in that wrapper and I took the whole wrapper off and then I found it was gluey and sticky. So now what do I do?
It
You
should,
erase with-
it shouldn't be too gluey and sticky. It should be like, it should have the, you know,
I had one
Yeah,
like,
it does that, but how do you use it with it kind of
like
sticky?
a normal eraser.
just like a normal eraser. You just.
Yeah, but but do you use the paper with it on there or do you take the whole thing off? Because I took the whole thing off.
So you took the wrapper off here. You take the wrapper off.
Off. You take the wrapper off. Thanks. Yes.
And then
take
you
the
just
wrapper off. And then you just use it like a regular eraser.
Sometimes you can dab it instead of rubbing, but it works
Yeah,
fantastically
that's
well
what
with
I'm-
charcoal.
Yeah, it really,
how do you
and
do
also what's really nice is it doesn't leave, like other erasers leave little bits of rubber behind, right?
It doesn't.
That does not, it doesn't do that. So it's nice. And also I like being able to put it into it. I do it a little point a lot. So if you can see here, my phallic eraser.
Leah, I got my eraser, but I haven't tried it yet. My electric eraser.
Right, and then there is the electric eraser, which I must demonstrate to all of you. Which is, here's my electric eraser.
Put your batteries.
Awesome about it. Check this out. Don't get jealous. I always tell people, don't get jealous because this is amazing.
No, it just starts an addiction.
It does start an addiction.
I have not bought one and I'm resisting.
Well, fortunately, you paint more than you draw. So it's like, it's a little bit less, but look at how amazing. Look at this, you guys. It's a little control, but look at how like nice and light it makes my lines. Oh, and it'll probably do like these kind of ripply things, you know, where I'm wanting to go make that transition. Oh yeah, even if you look at the wake of the boat, by the way, the direction of the kind of light areas here, can you see they're generally not going straight across like I just did them? They're actually kind of going up at an angle too. Can you see that? I'm doing kind of these things. Here, let me get a little bit more dark in so you can really see it. A little bit more dark in here. Yeah, that is totally,
Wow.
I love this thing.
I have a question.
Yes,
Sorry, I have a question.
yeah.
How do you keep your arm off the paper?
You know, that's a really good question. You're not the only one to answer that question. So I'm gonna flip, I'm gonna add my, hold on, I'm gonna add a spotlight here so you can see how I'm leaning into my, can you guys all see this? So it helps to have a drawing table that pushes up,
Yep.
but I will often lean on my left hand, my non-drawing hand. I will lean on it. I'm almost so that I can hold my other one. Yeah, because otherwise you're going to want to lean. Now, often when I'm working straight, I'll actually work right on the canvas, right? But if you can take your non-hand, your non-dominant hand, and lean on that.
That's great.
Then this helps. Then it helps to like, I think you can do this on a flat surface too. It's just less, what do you call it? It's like, you know, you still have to lean over a little bit more. I have noticed sometimes I get a little carpal tunnel-y stuff happening. So don't, your hand breaks and you know how it is. Anytime you're doing anything physical repetitively.
Yeah.
Look at how the charcoal creates this feeling of sort of old. See how the charcoal creates a texture that we don't really have to worry about so much? Like it does a lot of the work for us, is what I want to say. Charcoal does do a lot of work for us. Getting rid of that anymore. So Jackie, going back to Jackie's beginning, it's this, I mean, you could totally do this lesson in charcoal, but it's kind of easier or in pencil or other mediums, but it's
To me, yeah.
you can kind of get a result you're happier with because you'll get a lot of texture just happening naturally with the medium. Wait till we use ink. You guys will love ink. All kinds of textures that you totally can't control. Right? You just have to allow it to do what it does. So if you really want to avoid the matchy, right? You really want to avoid the matchy. You want to find materials that force you to create kind of a random texture. And that can be really hard. Like you're somebody who wants to really have who has a general idea of their results, right? That can be hard. But I urge you to try and allow the textures to kind of, the materials to create the texture for you. So I love textures like that, and you'll get a lot of that in my class. There are other classes where you won't get that, so don't worry too much about like, everything I'm saying is just, you know, what I like to do as a teacher. Ultimately, you get to decide what works for you. And And you get to decide kind of what, I'm just trying to give you techniques so you can convey, so you know kind of how the two-dimensional surface works. But ultimately, you get to choose what it is you want to do, how you want to be inspired. There are kind of, I believe this is what Osiris is getting at. You know, there we see things differently and we prioritize things differently, right? Depending on, and it's very individual to us. Sometimes we actually visually see things differently, but you know, like a lot of it, you know, our vision is really our brain telling us what we see. So like what we notice is important, right? What we decide is kind of important is different. You'll notice that I'm starting to train you to look at things, to observe things, to prioritize things differently than you would looking at it from our normal,
These classes are free. I said, get these classes are free to us press people, because I'd be done quit. I don't see the way they see.
Don't
See, like
worry, Iris, we got you. We hear you, we see you, and we value the way you see things. And we get, it doesn't have to be the way I see them. Unless I'm teaching kind of a specific principle, right? Where we're trying to learn a very specific skill, kind of engineering type thing. I like to think this is a very engineering type thing. I mean, if you're training to be an engineer, you know, there's things you got to understand about car engines. And regardless of
This is very architectural drawing kind of thing. I have done 6 months of architecture, so it was very architectural drawing kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's architectural. There are rules to architecture, right? To make it work.
Absolutely.
There are rules to constructing a drawing to convey a kind of like what we're visually seeing. But after that, it's all up to you. I'm just teaching you the rules so that
and I dropped out of that course, and now I'm just feeling that, you know, life becomes a whole circle.
Yeah.
I dropped out of architecture, and now we're doing this. I was like, okay, you know what, life does stuff.
Right. When I'm describing the rules, if you're having trouble following, it's probably because it's hard. It's the words that I'm using that aren't really helping you personally, right? It's the approach, but the actual, and quite frankly, it's really hard to put words on visual spatial ideas. So anything that I'm insistent on is just to get you, are just the basics of trying to understand visually what you're looking at. But after that, it's all up to you. There's a lot of room for variation. Right, there's some basics into inserting an IV in someone, right? There's basic things you need to know. However, Catherine will tell you there's a lot of variation in how you do it, right? And how each person does it.
I always used to say that blood drawing and IVs are not science, they're an art.
They're an art, exactly. So there are certain things you need to do. You need to hit a vein, right?
Right. You need to find a vein.
You need to find a vein. You need to make this as this, and then it's good to make this as non-traumatic as possible.
Right.
Right. But after that, the way you do it is going to be the way you find works for you and your patients, right?
Yep.
And there's
exactly
variation. So that's a similar thing that I'm doing for you guys here. There's a lot of variation in how to understand this. However, there are some rules that apply across the board that if you can understand them will help you convey what you see. After that, it's all, yeah, I'm really liking how this drawing is looking. Without even having that much detail, I kind of already like the drawing. Once again, I'll show you one of my favorite Italian artists on Instagram. I don't exactly know what his name is, but he's very prolific. He draws things very wackily, but he has a very strong sense of detail. So let me show you his feed so you can see what I'm talking about. I love this dude's work because he shows a strong sense of, okay, here's a classic. This is a classic one of his. Can you guys see it? So see its trees?
Yes.
The house, and look at how magical, but look at how strongly he understands perspective, right? He shows those trees going back. He shows that road going back. He's got a really strong sense of perspective so that when he creates his wacky designs, there's still a feeling of, a little slight feeling of reality. Where's another one here? Where he really does it well. Here's one. I like this one, right? Definitely we have a sense of these cups, kind of one coming towards us, the other sitting away from us. Here's a sketch. Look at that.
Nice.
Right? He's often working from, like, he has a very strong sense of drawing and draw. Here's another great one. If you don't think I freaking love this. Look at the little trees in the background. He often has, he's got his sky, he's got his little house in the background, he's got his trees in the background, and then he's got trees up front in his road. You will see this guy has a very strong sense of perspective as he makes his wacky little paintings. Here we go. Here's like a little, there we go. Little short close-up of a Venice canal. So understanding what the, God damn, he's so good. Look at that. Even that, right? This is 20-something moving back in space. Isn't that great?
Cool.
There is a feeling of dynamism and a feeling of movement that he gets by his command of drawing. And yet his drawing is totally wacky.
Ooh.
Leah, what is this artist's name?
San Gallo Rosso. Let's see.
Okay.
Let me look. San Gallo 85 Rosso. San Gallo
Yeah.
85 Rosso. Yeah, follow him. I thought he was a girl for the longest time. We go back and forth with each other's work all the time. And then I realized, oh my God, he's a guy. Which really changed my view of things more than I thought. Oh, by the way, I'm going to come out and go check on my outdoor kitty here. I'll be right back. Is anybody kind of getting into the rhythm of this one?
Kind of.
20 minutes left. Good. I think these are important lessons. I think the ability to simplify is as important as anything else. Maybe I'll ask Della Rosso if we can try copying one of his paintings just to get an experience of how he constructs. I might ask him.
That would be fun.
Yeah, I'll have to ask him if he thinks
He's
that's-
an abstract painter. It looks, for me, it's simple, but for somebody like probably somebody.
It's,
intellectual.
but if you try to copy what he's doing, Osiris, it's harder than it looks.
For me, as an abstract painter, it's simple. His movements and stuff are so similar to a lot of abstract painters. But for somebody else, it's not abstract. It might be hard, but.
I disagree. There's a tremendous, this is abstracted, but it is not an abstract art. This is not abstract art. This is actually pretty strong, figurative. There's very strong sense of perspective in his work.
Of course it is. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying his shapes and designs. If you go back and look at Kandinsky and Hilma, Clint and all the people I've been studying, all of them, it's a similarity. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not discounting his talent or anything else.
Right. I'm not talking about talent. I think we're often talking at cross purposes when we're trying to describe something. What I'm talking about is two pieces to a painting like his. One is an understanding of how to show things going back in space. And that's not talent as much as it is a skill that he has learned and developed.
That's a skill.
Making and his shapes are very different. And what Kandinsky's doing and what he's doing are very different in that way. He is still showing, he is doing exactly what we're doing here, which is showing perspective, but using simple shapes. And that's actually different than, so you have to have to do what he does, you have to have a command of this to be able to do what he does. You need that skill. So it's not as simple. It's not simple.
Do you think it's natural to him or something he learned?
I think it's.
I'd be interested in finding out.
I think it's something he learned. It's obvious. I mean, no one's born knowing this. You have to practice it and learn it. It's not obvious. He has to be trained. So he is obviously, or he, anyway, it's very obviously there. And when we talk about, when I'm strict with you guys about how things start and where they end, that's what I'm talking about, is the stuff that you're practicing. I'm not telling you you're drawing us to look, but if you want to convey, this is a skill. Just like working on a car engine, if you want to fix a car, there's certain things you need to know about how things get put together. That is everything that we're talking about. And that is something that's not natural, that does not come naturally. It's something you have to practice. Just like learning to read is how you practice. His choices about like what his trees look like, the shapes of his trees. Now that is a very simplified, that's a very different thing. That's like very much his choices, but where he chooses to put them and what sizes he chooses to put them, he has to have a strong grasp of these things that we're practicing. And this is hard to grasp because it's different than you think it is. We're working with a flat surface. We have to translate 3 dimensions to a flat surface. And that's the trickiest part. And trying to find the words to explain it and trying to find the practice and to be able to understand it. You'll notice it's something that we learn over time. I'm trying to explain it. Some people will get it right away. Some people will noodle it around. You might have a different teacher who can tell you that in the way.
So Leah, do you teach autistic? Because do you teach people that are autistic too, or just people that have the regular left, right brain?
I do. Autistic people love my classes because it's very. I mean, I don't know if I have anybody right now, but yeah, I have. And autistic people like it because the rules and the structures are very clear.
Yayoi Kusuma, who just led herself into her art because she was crazy. You know, she finally checked herself into a mental institute and lived there for the rest of her life. And she's 92 years old now.
Sure, but she's doing a different thing. So just so that we're clear on what this is representative drawing, right?
Oh, I got you. Okay.
So that's all I'm talking about.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I'm trying to express here is there is a set of rules to get representative drawing to work, to understand how to show things going back. It's a whole language. It is not easy. In a way it's easy, in a way it's not easy. It's hard to wrap your mind around. It's new. It's a different way of thinking about this same thing. But abstraction, anyways, yeah. I want to be
confusing because it depends on people's perspective, their experiences and all that. That's how I've learned. Everybody has a different perspective. Everybody has their own experiences, and then they bring that to whatever they're telling you about. That's all.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And maybe the way I say it is not the way, you know, everyone can hear it. To be honest with you, I
love your class. I think
thank you. But to be honest with you, I haven't found many people who can describe these techniques very clearly. I know people who understand them, but I've had a lot of teachers that couldn't tell me any of the things I'm attempting to tell you guys. I'm attempting to try and describe. They're very hard to describe. Easier to describe in a little practice. There's some people who are pretty
Leah, can you take a look at my
yeah.
one?
Oh, Ross, that's looking okay. So one or two things. So the only problem, this looks great. I love the mark making. I love the softness and the lightness of the lines. The problem that you're having is only your up here, your windows are leaning this way.
Oh.
You need to have vertical lines, okay, right? Going straight up and down. And they will be getting smaller as they move away from you, not bigger.
Almost all equal.
Yep. Everything else is looking great. Wonderful. And same over here on this side. These white pieces need to be straight up and down. Oh, hey. Oh, hey. Sorry, Hermes just insists on bring up on the keyboard. Come here, buddy. Come here.
I just had to chase Dragon.
Sandra, did you notice after about a year they get really like, Hermes seems to be going through something.
No. You seem to be what?
He seems to be going through something. He's like incredibly energetic and he really struggles to like calm down. He's like
he's a teenager.
Tweener. He's a tweener.
I found the worst time for me was 8 months old when they have a full-grown body but the mind of a kitten.
Yes.
But it will get better. By the time he's 2, you'll find him much more settled.
Yeah, he seems very unsettled. Like he can't stop moving around. He's like expressing his strength. He wants to be constantly interacted with and engaged with. Like there is never a moment when he doesn't want to be. Here, let's see. I'll show you guys him here. Hold on. Here he is. Hello.
Gorgeous.
Try a white puppy.
I loved that picture of him in his catio.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
He wants to be up here. He wants me to play with him. He wants to be like.
He wants to help you do whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah,
he's painting. He's drawing.
Oh, painting. Yeah.
Oh. He's adorable. How old is he? 8 months old?
He's like a year. He's a little over a year.
Oh, hi, little wish.
He was so tiny last year and he's grown up.
He was so tiny.
Do you have a dog and a cat or just cat?
2 cats. Anybody else want to show us their kitties or doggies? Where's Sunny? Diana, where is Sunny?
She's actually laying down.
All right, it's not her.
I sent mine. Can you look at it?
Yeah, hold on. Where are you, Osiris? Where are you? Hold on, I gotta find you.
You have to have your camera on.
Where? Oh, there you are. You have to have your camera on. So in the meantime, I'm going to show Sandra's iPad so you can see one of hers.
This is Leon. Ryan.
It is.
Ryan, say hello.
Look how beautiful. I love the spot.
It's beautiful.
Simon, turn on your video and then we can see your pet, your doggy. Turn on, yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna capture you and kiss you.
I got my dog on.
Where, who said, oh, Bettina, where are you? Hold on. I gotta find you at the top of my screen. That's my challenge. There you
Oh, sweet, sleeping.
see.
You have to focus. Oh,
Oh,
How old is she?
She's 9.
She's getting old.
she's a middle-aged baby.
They're sweet when they get old.
Aw, they really are.
Such a sweetheart.
Okay, here, sorry, I'll get back to this. Let's just spend a minute with this. And then let's see where we get to with it.
now Sunny is trying to play with the cat, so I have to
Oops.
turn off. Baby. Yeah. Can I take a photo of you? Sunny.
Who else has?
He has a kennels call.
Ah, Cinderella, live till 19. Oh, Cyrus, this is great. I love it.
You do?
Great.
No.
Bettina, great. I love
You do.
Yes.
My windows are crooked.
Well, just make them. So all you need to do is
'Cause
make.
my mind is crooked. So we're crooked.
Leah,
Okay, now what do you want me to
my
do?
Zoe is here.
What's that?
My Zoe is here.
Oh, where's your Zoe? Hold on a second.
Oh, I love Cinderella.
Right now.
Yeah,
Here's
Cinderella is pretty.
Let's see.
There she is. Here's the troublemaker.
Oh, sweet. So is she getting better?
Here's mine.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
she looks very happy, Rashmi.
He looks cute.
Yeah.
Here's my baby.
Let's
Say
see.
hi. Say hi.
Hold on,
Let's
hold
see.
on. Hold on, Iris, I'm getting to you. Where are you?
I can't see.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking.
Oh,
for-
wait. You need to change the
turned my
camera
video
angle.
off.
Osiris, we can only see the top of your head.
Ah, there we
Me?
go. There we go. Hurry
Yes,
up.
that's it.
Annie.
Oh, it's a puppy.
Oh.
He's sick. He doesn't feel well.
What is
Oh, do you see?
Oh,
He has a kennel cough. It's like a bronchitis for.
But
Oh,
how old is
first-
he?
He'll be 3 in December.
Oh, so he's still very young.
what
He's
is
still a baby. He's very much
Look-
still a pup.
Very sweet. Yeah, he looks like a baby.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart. He's like a baby face, really baby energy. So my husband calls him Puppy. I call him his name.
Oh,
What's his name?
Meatloaf, like the artist.
me.
wonderful.
Dogs. Animals are so great.
I have my cat with me.
Where? Hold on, Mira. Let's get you. Where are you? Mira, let me find you.
Well, Diana, yours is huge now.
Yeah,
Mira.
yeah, I don't know.
Aww.
Oh, sweet.
Hi.
Jesus.
He's adorable.
Ah, look at that face.
Oh,
What a face. What a face.
Oh, he's a cutie.
Oh, he
Oh,
looks
look,
so
totally
happy.
spoiled. Look at the eyes. Totally spoiled.
I know, we love
Where did you go? Do you see me?
I
You
love
have to brush him.
animals.
It looks like you need to brush him.
And I love people that love animals. Don't you love people that love animals?
Yeah.
I love people that love animals.
Puppy.
And I love animals. I mean,
Oh, there's Sunny.
me and my papa.
Sunny at the scene of her crime. At the
Yep.
scene of her crime. The last time Diana let Sunny go unattended, she went into the living room and tore up several feather pillows and got
only one, but it only
That'll
one.
teach you.
Get the vacuum for hours.
Yeah.
Oh,
for hours.
Zoe chewed my husband's AirPods on the International
Oh.
Day of Dog.
Oh,
One of it. So that's how it's
Yeah.
At least Sunny has not destroyed anything valuable, but when we got
No,
shot.
it was like our fault because he was sleeping and she was by his side and I was working and she just got it. And
I can send us
yeah.
a couple pictures of the cat. Sure, that'd make a good. That would make it. Mira, will you send us pictures of your cat? Maybe we'll draw her next week.
Sure. Yeah, I have
Yay.
plenty.
Do you have to brush her?
Yes, we have to
You
get him groomed. It's him.
Oh,
But
so
yeah.
you don't brush, you don't attempt to do it yourself a bit every day?
We do it too, but then we have to take him to the groomer at least like, every 2 months.
Is
So
it
he
like
doesn't get the knot.
is it like a Norwegian forest cat, or do you know?
I don't know.
No,
He looks a bit like one.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
Oh.
have fish.
All right, so we're getting towards.
They are common where I come from.
Exactly. Yes, Diana, you would know.
We're getting towards the end of our session. I'd love you to take a picture of your latest piece if you haven't already sent it, and just send us where you are.
I'm getting nowhere with this shit. I don't know why I did this.
You're getting there, Diana. It's just going to take a while.
Yeah, it will take a long while.
This is all right, Catherine. Wonderful work. You got it.
Thank you.
You got it. Everybody should be feeling Jackie. Fantastic. Everybody should be feeling very proud. These are good. They're good. What did you learn? There you go. Oh, great, Olga. Great corrections. You got it. Okay, so Olga, the only thing I'm going to tell you is once again, if you see your brick is leaning this way, and that's because your lines are leaning. Your lines need to go straight up and down.
Mm-hmm.
On the left side, fix that. Other than that,
oh yeah,
it makes it look like it's curved.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I see it now.
And that's not what's happening. Although now you know how to show something look like it's curved. Oh, Julia, wonderful, great. Did anybody, Diana, that's coming along. Don't you worry, it will come. I know it's frustrating. Mira, wonderful. So Mira, also be careful.
Okay.
You did the same thing. Your bricks here, you've got your vertical lines going at an angle. They need to be going straight up and down.
Yes, it needs to go up. Okay.
Isn't that funny? We just kind of like lean in with our, and then we're like, wait a minute, that's not right.
Yeah.
Julia,
Okay, thanks.
Bettina, wonderful. Absolutely. You guys, these are fantastic. Can anybody tell me something? Can you quantify what you learned in this class? Is there anything you can quantify about what we learned? I'm going to remove the spotlight. I just want to, these are great. So number one, I want to say, these are great. You guys did great. These are tough concepts to wrap your mind around. Did anybody understand anything that they didn't know at the beginning of class? Is there something you can say that you got? Or are you still noodling it around in your head? If you're still noodling it around in your head, don't try. Listen, I spend months and years doing it and then trying to figure out how to explain it. So if you can't, don't worry about it.
I mean, there was a lot of practice with the vanishing point because of all the rows of windows. And so that was really good.
Yes. And I think we got a sense for you of like where you tend to go off, right? Which is to not evaluate where things are on the paper, right? So we're starting to learn how to visually figure that out, right? Rather than measuring, you're getting a sense of visual spatial awareness. Where are things on the paper, right? That really helps to find that starting point. What else? Anything else? That kind of.
I learned how to listen. Because my mind moves fast and it's constantly moving. That's part of the problem, is that it's going and going and going. And then it goes to something without finishing or completing the understanding of what is leaving. So your classes help me actually to be a little quiet and listen. That's important for me to maintain my health, is I have to quiet down. I have to quiet.
Right, me too, to be able to like hear. And
Yeah.
because that's part of the understanding. I think
Yeah.
this is probably how we all felt as kids learning how to read. We just don't
Yeah.
remember because it was so painful, right? Learning how to read is really painful. I remember I was just reading to a little nephew who's like 5, and it's exhausting. Like learning to read is hard. You have to spell the words out and then sound them out. And you know what I mean? Like it's hard to learn to read.
Yeah.
And it requires a kind of patience and focus that we later forget.
Well, when your brain is damaged, because my brain is damaged, I've been beaten in the head. I was gang raped in the military. So
Right.
my brain is damaged. So I try to compensate by, feeling in, like listening and trying to match, like your mom says, matchy matchy, trying to match what you're saying to what my depth of understanding is.
You know what, Osiris, everybody's doing the same thing. See, you just described what everyone in this class is doing. They're trying to like match what I'm saying to their understanding, right?
I'm in the right class.
The thing is, with drawing, you can't really explain it. You have to do it. I think there's a physical, you have to do it to see it. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to see it to be able to, you have to make enough mistakes. I never talk about perspective until you've had at least a couple months of drawing practice under your belt, because you don't even know what you don't know how to do.
Right.
Like for the first, like we don't even know. So we work with the grid to kind of figure out, oh, that's in a totally different place than I thought it was. Why? Then we can go back and start understanding why. It's very good. Anyway, you guys did great. I'm proud of you all.
Good teacher.
Continue on doing what we do and just keep rocking it. Somebody wants to try this in pencil, go for it. That would be a fun exercise. It's a lot, but it might be interesting to see how things work differently with the pencil, right? Maybe it's easier to control certain aspects. Great.
Yes.
But
Definitely want to try it
I mean,
in pencil.
these are good, you guys. These are really, really good. Feel really proud of yourself. Good work.
Okay.
All right.
Saying goodbye.
Thank you. Great teacher.
Thank you.
Great lesson. Thank you.
Guys, you're wonderful.